Hi, everyone. Welcome to Breakthrough Redefining Success in a Post-Pandemic World. Um, you know, One of the reasons we're having this series on Breakthrough is that we are leading towards the summit, the Malaysia Leadership Summit. And the Malaysia Leadership Summit is where more than 12 world-class speakers, Stan Phelps, Frank Furness, who was on last week, Jean-Marie Digiovanna, Justin Cohen from South Africa, Scott Friedman, and so many others will be joining us in Kuala Lumpur on on June the 20th at the City Convention Center. And you can actually get your tickets from glsbusiness.org/MLS23. But I want to talk a little bit about setting the stage for why we're doing what we're doing. Obviously, the Malaysia Summit in June, it's where 100% of the proceeds. So we're doing this because it's to raise money for charities in Malaysia. But more importantly, right, this whole theme of breakthrough. One of the things that's very pertinent is, why do we need to break through? What is there to break through towards? And so I just want to set the stage. So as we all come in on June 20th, and as we connect with Frank Furness, and Frank Furness is going to help you, especially in the revenue side, on the sales and marketing side. And welcome to everyone. Great to see each and every one of you here joining the stream and talking a little bit of the Malaysia Leadership Summit and some of the things that we're going to cover at the summit. And I just want to set it up, because Frank's going to come and say, look, here's how we use ChatGPT to increase sales. Here's how we use generative AI to drive new revenue sources and essentially helping business leaders, business development leaders, sales leaders to double, triple, quadruple their businesses, right? But before we do that, we have to understand the context of where we are today. And that's why I want to share a little bit of trying to understand where we are today and setting the stage for what's to come. And I think to do that, we need to take a step back. We need to take a little step back and look back in history. And this was an era, the 1890s to the 1920s, which was, and I'm going to give you a quick history lesson here. This was an incredible era of hyper growth on innovation. And there's a guy called Friedrich Nietzsche, wrote in 1890 that he said that we got to understand the context of this age. And he was talking about 1890. And he said there's going to be war, turbulence, and a whole bunch of other things if people didn't have the sixth sense, which is the ability to understand that age. So it's not smell and feel and so on, it's the five senses, but the sixth sense of the ability to understand the age. And he was right, because that age was actually a phenomenal age, right? I mean, if you look back in history, 1890s to the 1920s, where aeroplanes came about in 1903 with the Wright brothers, right? You had wireless, you had radio, you had electricity, then you had light bulbs. I mean, suddenly, boom, before that 7 p.m., boom, it's all lights out and that's it for the day. But now you had light bulbs, you had reading, you had manufacturing started coming, you have 24/7 manufacturing, you have banking, you have cars that just, wow, completely changed the landscape, right? Because with cars, you replace them with horses. You replace the horses with cars, right? Your telephone, and I can pick up the phone and talk to people far away. This was an amazing time of hypergrowth, innovation, and incredible achievement. I'm just showcasing some of the incredible innovation of that time. But what that caused was quite an interesting thing, because when you start to replace horses, with cars, what happens is you have to put petrol stations or gas stations. You have to build an infrastructure for cars. You have to build parking. You have to build some system where there's traffic lights to manage the car flow, to manage this. And it's a whole bunch of things, and the roads have to be wider. And there was a whole bunch of sort of change or transition from the horseways to the carways, from the old ways of Pony Express to telephones, to new ways of communication. And Darren, great to hear you, see you here too. So we're talking a little bit about what we're going to cover at the Malaysian Summit, and just to set the context, and then what Jean-Marie will talk about leadership in this new era, and sales in this new era, and breaking through in success and life and other things. But we need to understand this era that we lived in. So to do that, I'm going to take a bit of a history lesson and go back to the 1890s or 1920s. And so what happened in the 1890s or 1920s was incredible innovation, achievement, and growth. But what resulted from innovation and hyper growth and all these things was startling, because the 1890s to the 1920s was great, but 1915, it was World War I. 1918 and 1919, It was the Spanish flu, the equivalent of what we call the COVID pandemic, right? Then in the 1920s, they had the Great Depression, similar to what we are experiencing at this point in time. And it didn't end there. In the 1930s, World War II started, and it went all the way to 1945. And here's what's interesting in that era. Even though it was a great era of growth, hyper achievement, and all kinds of innovation, and amazing things happened, amazing stuff that should have made our lives easier, but it's actually a time of great confusion and great displacement. Because if I was in the transport business and working with horses, I had to figure out cars that just came in. If I was in communication, there's telephone, there's radio, there's entertainment is moving from the old ways of doing shows in a city and moving from city. Suddenly you have television, you have radio, you had a whole bunch of things that was very confusing. And it was also a time where you had to destroy the old ways and you had to reconstruct new ways. And why I tell you this is because when we look at today's era, when we look at the 1990s to the 2020s, and this is what I talked about Friedrich Nietzsche, we talk about the fourth industrial revolution. And this is an interesting era, right? Because it's not just digital changes that are there, but we also see biological changes and we see physical changes, right? With 3D printing and autonomous vehicle, robotics, and all these things. But biological too, right? People are living longer. And then we talk about all the effects of all these, the three revolutions that are happening in one, which we term the fourth industrial revolution. And why this is important for us to understand is because if we don't understand the context of the age, how do we break through? How do we become successful? How do we ensure that in this era will be successful? And you had COVID, right? Which suddenly changes the whole world. We need to engage customers differently. We need to empower employees differently. We need to optimize operations. We need to transform our products into digital products. So many things. And then there's security concerns. There's cyber security. There's hacking. There's a whole bunch of things that we are confused about. And we're agitated. And it's so much displacement that's happening. Now, all these things has created what a simple workplace into a chaotic workplace, from audit to unaudit, with rapid rates of change, with unclarity about today, the present, with multiple decision factors and essentially so many unknowns. We see this as a VUCA world. Now, I'm gonna stop there because I want you guys to understand why this summit is so critical for you. Because if we do not understand today's age, and the guys that understand the 1890s to the 1920s, the Rockefellers of the world, they understood, whoa, I need to corner the oil market because cars are going to change the way things, the petrol is going to be critical. Let me set up Standard Oil. The guys at Carnegie, they understood basically the context of the age, and they took advantage of it. Now, for us to be successful and break through in this new era and truly leverage generative AI, for us to break through, we need to understand the context of the age. And that's what this summit's all about, not just understanding the age, but how you can then apply and break through. Justin Cohen is going to talk to us. How do you break through and enable yourself to be very successful in this new age? Jean-Marie Digiovanna, she's an international keynote speaker, and she was on a couple of weeks ago. She's coming down. In fact, she's on her way to Kuala Lumpur right now. But she's going to talk about the Renaissance leadership way. How do you enable to work in a Renaissance way? Now, all this will be at the Malaysia Leadership Summit. So if you haven't signed up, it's HRDF claimable, meaning if you're in Malaysia, it's practically free, right? I mean, essentially it's free, right? You just can claim it from your organization, right? And you just need to send an email to us at info@leaderonomics.com, and we'll get you sorted, right? So you can send us information at info@leaderonomics.com, and we'll get you sorted. But the reason I want to share about this summit, because it's going to open your eyes to the context of today, but it's also going to provide you the resources and the inspiration and the ideas and the interventions that you need to be able to be successful in this age. So Frank's going to talk a little bit about how do you really drive digital in this new age. Here's a quick snippet of what Frank's going to share at the summit.
Hi, I'm Frank Furness, and I'm an international keynote speaker traveling around the world. I cannot wait to be speaking at your conference. I'm going to be speaking about leadership in the digital age because things have changed so much since we've had lockdown. We've got all of these fantastic things like AI and ChatGPT. So we've got to see these as great opportunities. And you as a leader have got to accept all of the opportunities we've got and use them the best way we can. I'm going to be sharing some stories with you on how to use some of these incredible applications that we've got right now, increase productivity, increase recruitment, and of course, your marketing is going to be off the board. I'll tell you what, just recently, I wrote 6 emails going out for proposals to companies, fed them into ChatGPT, gave it some great commands, came out with some incredible emails, closed 6 sales. These are the things that we've got to be doing as leaders. What I'm also going to be sharing with you is some stories of some of the great leaders that I'm working with right now that have accepted it and how it's changed their whole way of working. Because the big thing I want you to do after my session is I want you to think differently. We're in a different world. We've got to be thinking differently and just looking at the results that come from there. So, hey, this is Frank. I tell you what, I'm so excited. Can't wait to see you there. Catch you soon.
So that's Frank Furness. So Frank's actually will be in Malaysia from June 13th. So if you and your organizations actually want to use Frank in your company, reach out to me at info@leaderonomics.com, and I will be able to connect you with Frank, and we can work out. But Frank's going to be there on the 20th, and Frank's going to talk about, especially today in this world, if you're an SME leader, how do you struggle to drive sales? How do you look at revenue in a different way? How do you multiply it in a multifold way? Frank's going to be there, and the best part of the summit is lunchtime. You get to interact with the speakers. It's live, right? I mean, they're all flying, and Frank's coming down from the UK. I did mention Jean Marie. Jean Marie is also going to be down, and she's coming down May 31st. She's going to be here for a month, right? Up to June 23rd. So she's going to spend a month here. She's already got a whole bunch of big companies have locked her in. And she's an expert. She's also a tech person, right? But she's a tech person that's become an expert in the leadership space. And she's been studying along about the Renaissance age of how people can transform as they did during the Renaissance age. So here's a quick snippet of Jean Marie and what she'll be sharing at the summit in this topic of breaking through in your own personal leadership, breaking through to enable you to be successful in this new context and this new age that we're in. Here's a quick snippet of Jean Marie.
We are in a time of rebirth and reinvention. The leadership model of command and control no longer works. The pandemic has shown us that employees don't just want a place to work. They want meaningful work. They want to be valued and respected for the gifts and talents they bring to the table, not just for the results they produce. When we look back in history, the Renaissance was also a time of rebirth, a rebirth of humanity. We are in what I call the next Renaissance, and these times demand Renaissance leaders who think and lead differently. My name is Jean Marie Digiovanna, international keynote speaker, executive coach, and leadership expert. In my talk, I'm going to share with you the #1 skill Renaissance leaders possess and why it's critical to your success. I'll share with you how to truly acknowledge and inspire your team members to reach their full potential. And you'll leave with the most powerful tool to increase trust, improve engagement, and create a culture of belonging. We have the opportunity to reimagine the kind of workplace we want to create. Join me to learn how to become the Renaissance leader these times demand.
And she's going to be here. So lots of exciting things happening. And all of this will be at the Malaysia Leadership Summit. And one of the things I want to talk a little bit about this summit, because it's exciting, right? It's the only summit, I think, pretty much anywhere I've seen, where 100% of the proceeds actually go to charity. So if you look at the Malaysia Leadership Summit, it's June 20th. It's happening at the City Convention Center. It's HRDF claimable, meaning the reason why we collect money is because we want to donate that money to charity. But it's 680 ringgit. That's it, right? I mean, it's half of what a typical one-day programs in Malaysia go. So it's 100% HRDF claimable. We've got, folks, I think we've got about 350, 400 people who've already signed up. We've still got space for a couple more to join us. But it's breaking through the future, right? Helping you to understand how you can break through a future. Now, if you want to claim your HRDF, just send an email to info@Leaderonomics and we'll send you the process, because that's a slightly different process. If you want to just get your tickets right now, and remember 100% of the proceeds go to charity, then go
start of the session itself is way different from other conferences. You start with juggling, but then when it comes to the flow of the event itself, first start with, I think, a lighter topic, and subsequently into business topics like how do you pitch sales.
All right, so far, I'm really glad that MLS provided us with a lot of networking sessions where we could talk to both different participants as well as speakers.
Language can cause a lot of harm if not used correctly, but if used correctly, I believe it can create team building, teamwork, and so on.
When you put clarity as a lens to everything that is going on, I think it really makes a big difference.
feel that energy, you feel how you can change things in organizations, in the world, and just with a simple mindset shift. It's just wow.
So that was the Malaysia Leadership Summit 2022, and we're looking forward to the one in 2023 that's coming up June 20th. Sorry for the minor technical difficulties that were there, but looks like quite a few. Sounds like a perfect event to skip myself. Absolutely, Eric, and yep, you have Jean Marie and Frank who'll be there, and Sarah. It is going to be very exciting to be at the summit. So if you have not signed up, please sign up. Remember, 100% of all proceeds are given to Malaysian charities, and I'm going to end, at this point in time, highly recommending that you attend the summit. There's going to be some fabulous speakers there. But more interestingly, I think it's going to be an opportunity for you to grow yourself, learn, and give back. We're going to end with a short little video of where some of the money went last year. So some of the money was given to the MSRI, which is a refugee school. And so we're going to share a little bit a video which these kids actually they ended up buying. I think about 70,000 was donated to the MSRI school, which they built a film school or a refugee tech center where these kids can come and make videos and work and sell these videos or work to build videos for other people and earn money in that way for their families. Through this thing called Film School. And they actually created a little video to thank the Malaysia Leadership Summit last year in 2020 for donating that money, 70. And there were others, right? We also had a lot of money went to about 100 over schools to run leadership clubs in school. So a lot of different things were supported from last year's funds. We're looking forward to raise as much as possible this year so that we can fund these different charities out there. And so here's a quick view of MSRI, and we'll end here. And I thank you again for your support. Remember, you can sign up directly, 600 ringgit, and sign up right there. Or you can go and send us an email at info@leaderonomics.com, and we'll be able to get you centered on the HRDF claim. So here's a quick look at the Malaysia Social Research Institute, which is a school for refugee children.
Mama mad for good. Mama mad for good.
What do you know about refugee students in Malaysia? Hi, I'm Khojista, 14 years old from Afghanistan.
Hi, I'm Farhan, 15 years old from Pakistan. Here are top 3 frequently asked questions.
What is the difference between a migrant worker and a refugee?
A migrant worker came to Malaysia looking for a better job.
Refugee families escape their country due to war or political violence. When we get here, we register to the United Nations Refugee Agency
so we can be resettled to another country, which can take a long time, sometimes more than a decade.
Does Malaysia give refugees money, housing, healthcare, or schools? No. Malaysia gives us asylum so that our families can stay in a safe place, which we appreciate.
Refugees pay for our own rent, food, and education while we are waiting to be relocated, which can take up to 10 or 15 years.
Refugees aren't allowed to take a job from local taxpayers because taxpayers pay for schools, government, and hospitals. That's also why refugee children cannot go to government schools. Is it true that there are 50,000 refugee children in Malaysia and that most of them are growing up with no education at all?
Yes. That's where Malaysia Social Research Institute comes in, and where you can help too.
MSRI has a refugee school with refugees volunteering as our teachers. With support with Together We Can Change the World and Leaderonomics, we now have 20 computers in MSRI. While we wait for resettlement, we are learning computer skills so that we can work over the internet without taking a job from anyone.
With Refugee Film School, we learned to edit social media videos like this one. Through Leaderonomics Mad for Good program, making a difference for good program for high schools, we got to spend the day making friends with the other Malaysian high school students, and our video project won top 20.
Last frequently asked questions. How can you help? You can help with your time, your talent, or your treasure, because we're looking for volunteers to teach a class, to help us learn online job skills. You can also tutor, or you can donate to help us provide for more students. Our families appreciate all Malaysians for giving us a safe and friendly place to live in. Thank you, Malaysia Social Research Institute, for giving us a place to learn. Just like we learned from Leaderonomics, we are math for good, making a difference.
Together we can change the world.
Making a difference. Mad for good.
Thank you for watching. Remember, you can sign up for the Malaysia Leadership Summit at glsbusiness.org/MLS. 100% of all proceeds are given to charity. We'll see you next week, Wednesday at 10 a.m. for the next breakthrough session, and we'll be having Delphine Ang, who'll be joining another live speaker. So see you next week, everyone. Have a great week ahead, and blessings to each and every one of you. And we're capping it out with Mad for Good, our theme song for the conference and for the Mad movement.
Mama mad for good. Mama mad for good. Mama making a difference. Mama mad for good. Mama mad for good. Mama mad for good.